everybody, it's me, Mike Vardy here. I am now going to be kind of monitoring things here, so bear with me as we get started for the first episode of the weekly finish. The plan here is to discuss my goal with the weekly finish, just to give you a sense of what I want to do with it, is I want to find out how your week's gone, but then help you finish the week strong and go into the next week even stronger. So that's the plan here. If you have any comments or questions, just throw them in the feed. Got a few people here so far, and hopefully we'll have a few more as things come along. But my goal with this is to do that, is to have a weekly show. And again, I'm in the phase of just shipping it at this point. So I'm going to be adding this eventually to YouTube, things like that. Making sure that we can have a constant presence, because I want to help people out every single week, and I can't coach every single person that's out there that wants to hear from me. And also, not everybody needs the same degree of help. So by doing kind of a generalized show to help you out, I think that'll be something that would be really beneficial. So again, this is kind of like the guerrilla setup that we've got going on right now. I'd love to hear feedback from you as to what you'd like to see, whether you'd like to get different viewpoints. As I said, I can kind of give you the viewpoint of the computer there. If you want, I can. Eventually, what I want to do is I will eventually have things so it'll be in a different setting where you can see the whiteboard behind me, or whiteboard just over there. Give you a sense of how we can map some things out and do some action right on the chat. So thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate that. So the plan for today was to talk about email, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So, but first I want to kind of dive in to find out how your week was. So I'll give you to kind of get things off and running, an indication of how my week was. So this first week of May, my theme for this month is to work on, I have an overarching theme for this month that I can't totally share, but the book I'm working on is the big one. And I'm really working on kind of 3 major projects right now. The new book, the playbook, which you can get at productivityist.com/playbook. It's we've never really officially launched it. I want to create more plays for that and get that get that fully integrated with what we're going to be doing with Productivity stuff. So again, and right now it's only $29. It'll be going up in price once everything that we want is in there. So like kind of a soft launch price of $29. Some email strategies are actually talked about in this thing too. So there's that. And then I'm working on kind of like I said, a secret little project that's going to be taking several months to complete. So the book, the playbook, and then a secret project. I'm also speaking in Toronto at the end of this month. So I'm working on the talk for that, but that's not really a focus for the month. And the thing about themed months is that you should have one overarching focus, and then other things will kind of bleed in over the course of the month as well. You've got other things you can work on and need and want to work on. But the book is my overarching focus. This week, May 1st, we kind of wrapped up the Peak Work Performance Summit, which I was so pleased to be part of. Thanks to Ron Friedman for asking me to be part of that. I know there's some other stuff coming up from Ron soon that we'll be talking about through newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you could do that. Just go to productivityist.com. The very top, you can sign up for the newsletter or on any blog post really, and you'll get my manifesto with one, or you'll get a course called Do Your Things, a priority management course, a free course, and you can fill in your information there, and then boom, you'll have access to some of the stuff we'll be offering in the newsletter, which includes what Ron's working on next. The other thing that happened this week is it was a very full week. I'm looking at my Now Your Calendar now. I did a webinar with my friend Matt Giovanisi. And we'll be sharing that on YouTube as well. The once I want to edit it and get it, there's some stuff at the beginning that we probably don't need to have in there, and I don't want to waste your time with that stuff. So that'll be up on YouTube. It was for Asana with Blog for like blogging with Asana. That was the kind of the overarching theme of it. A lot of people showed up. A lot of people got a lot out of it. So I'm excited that we were able to do that. And finally, the other thing that we ended up doing is we ended up I ended up actually going to a conference called Social Media Camp. So I can zoom in on this thing. So there it is, Social Media Camp. And I was a panelist at this event with my friends Vicky McLeod, Angela Crocker, Bosco Anthony, and we talked about online and offline balance, which is kind of an interesting topic to discuss at Social Media Camp, considering that everyone's mainly online for it, but we talked about the value of disconnecting and all that stuff. again, the irony is definitely not lost on me, considering I'm talking about this on Facebook Live right now during the episode. But nonetheless, that's what we talked about. And so that was a great experience. Big thanks to the team at Social Media Camp for inviting me and putting this thing together. You know, I love the fact that we can have events like that in Victoria, BC, where I live. It makes travel really easy, but it also showcases just this great city that we live in. So, and if you were at Social Media Camp and you're watching this episode, I hope we had a chance to connect. If not, connect with me on the different social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. And I'd love to connect with you there. But during all of that, that was the whole week. That was a jam-packed week from Monday all the way through till Thursday. Now we're at Friday. So this episode is happening on Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And no, I will not be holding up a jar of mayo or anything like that. Cinco de Mayo in a lot of places. My new friend Dorian mentioned that it's actually National Liberation Day in the Netherlands, and Canada had our soldiers had a hand in helping with that. So shout out to her for I had a great time hanging out with you, Dorian, and thanks for sticking around in our city to check stuff out. But what do you think happens when you go to events like this, or when you're away, or when you're removed from the norms? Well, what happens is email. Actually, it doesn't happen. If you're able to, you're able to be fully present at the event, like I was, and then email piles up. And I don't think it just piles up when you're at an event. It can pile up at any given time. And I want to talk about different email tactics. I'd love to hear your comments and questions in here too about like what you're struggling with email, because I think that's something that we could really, really focus on is hey, how do I manage my my email influx? How do I stave off overwhelm? How do I do all that stuff so that way I can make sure that I'm on top of things and doing not just the things that email are directly to, but also dealing with the other stuff that happens throughout the day. So I'm going to share with you today some of the email tactics. We've got 20 minutes left in the episode. And that's kind of where I want to share. Now, if you have questions, and I know there's a few people here that are watching live on Facebook Live, then throw them in. If not, then I will gladly, kind of try to telegraph some questions or go through what I get with a lot of my clients as to how they can deal with email. So, first off, I used to be the guy, I'm not the only one, but I used to be a guy that would always profess never answer your email first thing in the morning. And I was hard and fast about that. And my friend Steve Dotto, I did this during a presentation once when we were doing shared presentations, and he said, Mike, you can't say that. You gotta stop saying that. And I said, well, why? It's I believe it's true. I think checking email first thing in the morning it puts you on the path to doing other people's stuff and leaving your other stuff behind. And he made a really good point. He goes, not everybody can afford to do that. And it was kind of eye-opening to me. I kind of dismissed it at first, but he's right. Not everybody can afford to wait until noon or 11 or 10 or whatever to check their email. It depends on their working situation. They may have a superior that is very much into, and look, I'm just going to check and see what's happening here really quickly. It's the beauty of doing live shows. So basically, it depends on your work situation. It depends on the situation that you have with, thanks, appreciate that, Rebecca. It depends on your work situation, depends on your superior, it depends on a whole bunch of different parameters. So I don't say that any longer. I don't say don't check email first thing in the morning. But what I do say and do suggest is that you have your plan in place first. So if you open up email first thing in the morning, and it can be very Pavlovian. You open up email, and email is easy in the respect that if you are doing email and you check your email and all of a sudden somebody says, hey, can you do this for me? And you don't have a plan in place, it's easy to do the thing that they've set out for you to do. It's easy to say, hey, I'm going to do this thing for Jim or Jill or Jack or whoever, because they've given me clear direction, they've given me a clear objective, and I'm going to do it because it's easy. It's easy. I don't have to do any of the thinking on my own. I've been prompted. And that's fine, but it can get dangerous if you're doing that all day long, if you're keeping your email inbox open all day long and doing that kind of call and response thing. So what I suggest you do is when you go into email, it's like going in with a mission, with a mandate. So when you go into email with questions such as, I wonder what emails I've received today, then that's a very open-ended question. You have no idea what that could be. You could get emails from customers, from colleagues, from family, friends, whomever. It's far better to go into email with missions. And what I mean by that is, what are the emails that I need to deal with, that I decided I need to deal with today? And there's a couple of ways to do this. I'll give you two really quick ones, because one involves having a separate task management application or even a paper planner you can do this with. And one involves filing your email in a way that allows you to quickly identify what you need to deal with on a specific day. So the first one is, if you're using a task management application like Todoist or Asana or any one that is, that allows for it, and a lot of them do, then when you get an email in and you can't deal with it right away, so this is if you're checking email right now, and you might be, and you see that a message comes in, and you look at it, instead of doing I'll leave this in my inbox until later, say, hold on a second, this is going to take some thought. It's not something I can quickly respond to. So I'm going to move it to the place where I will not have all the noise of everybody else's stuff. So I'm going to put it in Todoist or Asana or wherever. And I'm going to say, email Jim back about Jenkins project, let's say, or progress of, or whatever it is. And then you can safely archive that email, or put it in a folder that says actions to take or whatever. But I would suggest archiving it, just straight up archiving it, not putting in 80 million different folders, because then you're spending time searching through folders. And yes, Gmail search function and Outlook search function, they're fine. But again, just straight up archive. It allows the search to actually function faster because it's not trying to parse through different folders, number one. So that's one way to do it. And again, you can put in your paper planner too, so it's a combination of different ways. But that might seem cumbersome to people. Number one, it might seem cumbersome because, well, look, I'm already in email. Why don't I do this while I'm in email? Problem is, you're not going to necessarily do it right while you're in email. You're going to leave it in your inbox, and then other things are going to infiltrate your inbox. And really, the inbox is just a loading zone, right? I mean, when I worked at Costco, if you've ever been to a Costco, there's a giant receiving department, and any general store has this. But you don't go shopping in that department because you never find anything, or you take a long time for you to find anything. And it's generally not safe either. And I guess you could say the same thing about your email inbox. It can be a very hazardous place to be if you're there too long. But what happens is that the forklifts and the pallet jacks and all that stuff, they bring the things out to the specific places where customers can find them very easily. And you need to do that with your email too, because when you jump back into your email inbox later, you're going to have a flood of other messages, and they're all going to be mysteries. It's like, Christmas or your birthday. You don't know what's inside the package, but you know it is. But it's more like sad birthday, because a lot of them are like, oh man, I have to do this now. So it's not necessarily the joy that you would experience through most email, right? So leaving things in your inbox is a real problem, and leaving them and I don't care if you're leaving them as marked as read or unread or what. And again, it's a fallacy. If you say, well, I'm going to deal with this later, so I'm going to mark it as unread. That's not true. You read it, right? Starring can also be an issue too, because if you star or flag, well, eventually if you star to, it's like, actually I have this right here. It's kind of an interesting little metaphor I use, but this is Syndrome from The Incredibles. And his mission when he was doing his evil plan was to say, my goal is to make everybody super. So he wanted everybody to be a superhero in The Incredibles, because when everyone is super, no one will be. And I feel that's the same when you're talking about stars and flags and priority levels, is that everything's a priority. If everything's starred, if everything's flagged, then nothing stands out. They're all important. They're all, so why are you doing that? Why are you taking that extra step to do that? Unless you're carefully considering, hey, you know what, this really is a red flag, or this really is an orange flag, or this really deserves a star. But leaving it in your inbox still leaves it in this loading zone. So what you want to do, and it leads to the second part, is if you're using a task app, great, get it into your task app. That way you're funneling your focus, you're getting out of that email silo, and you're right into where you need to be. But if you don't want to use a task app, or you're using a paper planner, which doesn't have that ease of transition, then I use what I call the 3-mail process. And I've talked about this a bit. It's actually, there's a whole flow chart of it available, and in the playbook I actually walk it through step by step, but I'll give you a sense of what it is. And I'm thinking about doing a webinar on email, so if you're interested, and it'll just be a straight up, here's how I work through email, I will let you, I'll definitely do something like that. So what I do is I have created not 1, not 2, not 40, I've created 7 folders, so 7 email folders. And I recommend that you do either 5 or 7. It depends on, how busy you are, how often you want to answer email. And the reason also is because I have separate email accounts. So why 7? You'll hear here in a second. And every email folder that I've created has a day of the week on it. Now, if you're using something like Google, Gmail, or an app that refuses to let you sort where your folders go, then you're going to want to put them, 0-1 Monday, 0-2 Tuesday. Or if you start your week on a Sunday, 0-1 Sunday, 0-2 Monday, etc. And what that does is create 7 folders, 5 to 7 folders in your sidebar. Now, if it's work email that you're only dealing with here, you may only want to do 5 folders. But because I have one for personal as well, I have 7 folders for all of them, and I can just drag them to the appropriate folder. So when I get an email, I look at it and I say, and you could do the same, is, am I going to deal with this today? Do I need to deal with this today? If the answer is yes, then it can stay where it is. Or you could drag it to the day of the week folder that you're currently working on, right? So if it's Monday, and today's Friday, so if it's email you get on Friday and you're going to deal with it this Friday, then you can drag it to the Friday folder. Or you can leave it in your inbox. This is where I'm like, oh, you're going to deal with this today? Great. So normally what I would do is leave it in your inbox, and I'll explain why. Let's say you look at the second email, and you're looking at it and you go, you know what, I'm not going to get to deal with this today. I don't want to, I don't need to, it's not something but I'm going to look at this on Monday. Then instead of leaving it in your inbox, drag it to the Monday folder. So that's your Monday staging area, for lack of a better term. And do this with all your emails, all of them. So if you're going to deal with it today, leave it in your inbox. If you're going to deal with it a week from today, drag it to the folder that's from a week from today. So again, if you're going to deal with something that you got today on a Friday, next Friday, drag it to the Friday folder. Okay? And the reason you want to do that over what I was saying initially is if your email, and I could do this because my email is not too out of control, and also I have a lot of ability to decide when I send email, and maybe you don't, is that you don't want to see all your emails from today and like next Friday in the same folder, because you probably would want to deal with the Monday ones next anyway. So you have 7 folders or 5 folders or whatever. Again, it depends on how you want to stage it. It's up to you. It's a personal choice. I'm big on personal productivity. So you go through your email inbox. You reply to the ones you can to right now, which are the quick ones. If you know it's going to take longer than a certain period of time, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you want to. And actually, when I work with coaching clients, and they're like, I can't get through my email, I actually sit there and time them as they go through their inbox, and you'd be surprised how quickly you can make decisions on emails if you're forced to make the decision on them. Instead of saying, oh, I'll get to this later, I'll get to this later, you can say, okay, am I doing this today? No? Okay. When am I going to do it? Tuesday. Great. Drag it to Tuesday. And one of the best ways you can decide what day to deal with it is based on the theme day of the week, right? So, for example, I theme my days. So if it's a podcast interview person that wants to talk to me, I drag it to the Wednesday folder, because that's when I deal with podcasts. If it's a coaching one, I'll drag it to the Monday, unless it's something I can deal with right away, which often with coaching clients I will do. If it is related to learning, training, so like a course I want to take or something that's related to ConvertKit or whatever, I'll drag it to the Thursday folder. So what this does is it makes your inbox truly a loading zone, like a receiving department, where the only things that stay there are the things you actually want to deal with on that day, and the other things go to where they need to be. Now, what is this? Let's say you get through your entire inbox. Maybe. So let's say you get through all the things you had listed for today. Well, then you would, instead of staying in your inbox and waiting for stuff to show up, If you want to get to email and you've got all your other deeper work done, then you would look at the folder that is most suitable for you to look at. So in this case, if it's Friday and you don't have a Saturday or a Sunday folder, and Saturday would probably be personal anyway, then you would say, okay, well, let's look at what I'm going to deal with on Monday. If that's your preference. And again, because I theme my days, I generally, when I'm done the Friday stuff, it's done. Like, I don't need to go back and look at Monday. I can choose. I have the choice, which is great. I have the option. But I'm not trying to manipulate my inbox. I'm not trying to search endlessly through my inbox. I'm literally, and this is manual. This is a manual thing. And in the wake of what happened recently with Uber and Unroll Me, and if you haven't heard about that, I'm sure you probably can get a sense of what that is. And I'm not seeing any questions here too. So this is let's just see here. No questions. So that's good. We'll be able to, because I know we only have a certain period of time. So if you are looking at like a service like Unroll Me or anything like that, get out of it, because if you're not comfortable with your data being sold to a company like Uber or wherever, because if you're not paying for the service, then guess what? You are the product in a lot of ways. But with this, you're manually dragging. You're creating this cognitive kind of connection where it's like, okay, these emails are going to be dealt with on Monday. And then the new habit is you check your inbox first, deal with everything, move things to the appropriate folders as they need to, deal with what's left in your inbox. Then when that's done, move to the appropriate folder or go on to do other work that you're meant to do. Okay? The other interesting thing here is that if you want to use a tool like SaneBox, which is what I use, you can make it automatic. And that's something that I can go through in a future webinar as well, as how I'm able to use SaneBox to implement this 3-mail workflow. And why do I call it 3-mail? Well, okay, so it's basically something comes in, you make a decision, and then you can deal with it. So it's three steps. Email arrives, you make a decision on what to do with it, which is the step we often get stuck on, and then you move on to you move on to the next one. So obviously it's email come in, sits in your inbox, you decide which folder does it belong to, or do I deal with it today? If I do, then. And that's a simple, and I mean, again, we only had a half hour. It's a simple way to get through your email. And it works if you commit to it, doing it consistently. And you set and this is a way of setting boundaries around your email. Because instead of you looking at the inbox and having to search through it aimlessly, or maybe aim fully, but taking forever, you could say, all right, well, I'm done with what's here. It's empty. And really it is a form of inbox zero, if you want to. I actually call it inbox today too, and there's a reason. I actually have a way that I look at email where is if I didn't get to it on that day, like make sure that my inbox, and this is what's just happened, is I've been gone for 3 days. I will get to today and then leave today's emails in there. And the reason is because email is not necessarily a way to deal with urgency. A lot of emails should be dealt with in an important fashion. So so email. I think there's a disconnect there as what email should actually be used for. Email and IM are constantly in flux about what they should be used for. But the other reason is that, and the reason I do this is because then that term inbox zero, of getting your email to zero, is a nice notion, but often we spend so much time in the email aspect of it that we're not doing any of the real work surrounding whatever we're supposed to be doing, whether it's email, whether it's whatever. So what I'll do is I'll look at and any email application has this, is you see what time the email arrived. And if it arrived and there's a date on it, so let's say I got an email on May 4th, it won't be in my inbox by the end of today. But if I got an email today at like 11:05 a.m., unless it's something I absolutely need to deal with, and there's very few of those, it'll stay there. It'll stay there until I make a decision on it. So I'm not obsessed with getting my email inbox down to zero. What I am obsessed about is making sure that I know where I want to know what is inside of my inbox. Not that there's zero there, but what does the inbox mean? What's the definition? What's the intent? And then, all right, well, Monday means this. So if I go to Mondays, I'm going to see largely coaching and client messages. On Tuesday, it's admin day, so I'll probably see all the other stuff that doesn't fit in any particular category. On Wednesday, I'm going to see podcast interview requests and maybe some people saying, hey, here's my thoughts on the weekly finish, things like that. Thursday, I'm going to see training stuff. So, hey, Mike, here's how you do Facebook ads, all that stuff. Friday, I'm going to see probably not very much because Friday's my deep work day. So I might not see very much there unless it's an email from my friend Cal Newport, because I know he sends stuff out on Fridays, and he's the author of Deep Work, so that makes sense. Saturday, family day, so I'll probably see personal emails there that I might want to deal with, but generally not many. And Sunday's my planning day, so anything that's related to planning, so any big plans, often revolving around my monthly theme, I will see in there. So it gives my brain a clue. It gives me a clue, which is what you want. You want to have these pillars there, these waypoints. And if you just leave everything in your inbox and let it just, age and atrophy in there, then you're going to go through there. And I guarantee you, depending on how many you have in your inbox right now, and this is a huge tip, is you should switch your email so it's not your default setting, which is like the newest email. Look at your oldest email that's sitting in your inbox and see if it's even valid anymore. And if you're worried about missing emails from people, then don't make it so that your email is sorted by date. Make it so it's sorted by person. So if it's your boss that's emailing you, you can quickly search by person and see how it's sorted and go, deal with this, deal with it. Because if it's one person that's causing you a lot of this grief and you don't feel that you can get out of email, then make sure that that person gets the attention that they need. And then move on to what you need to do, because that's what we often struggle with. Big thanks to all of you for tuning in. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can leave them in the Facebook Live comments area. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're watching the finished, completed episode, which is how it'll be on YouTube, then you can leave comments there. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go every single week. This is my plan, to do a Facebook Live called The Weekly Finish. And hopefully with what I talked about today with email, might take you some time to set this up. But maybe today, your action item is to leave this show and create a folder for Monday, like a Monday folder, and call it 01 Monday, and then look at your email inbox and pick 5 emails that you're going to deal with on Monday. Or more, if you can figure out more. And then when you check email first thing on Monday, which you might do, look at your inbox, and then when you're done looking at your inbox, go to the Monday folder. And let's start to build that new neural pathway for email, because once you start doing it, you're going to go from guessing to going, and that's the whole idea with what we're doing here at Productivityist. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you finish the week strong, and have a great weekend. Until next time, Mike Vardy here, reminding you to stop guessing and start going.